The following program is a paid commercial presentation on WINT. The views and opinions presented on this program do not necessarily coincide with those of our ownership, management, or staff.
Welcome to Tech Talk 2020 with Sanjay Parker. I'm Sanjay Parker with my co-host Mike Carswell. We welcome everybody back after we took a brief hiatus in June while Mike just pumped iron and ran a couple of marathons. And, I just tried out for the Cavs and stuff like that. Thought they could use some help in the finals. But it's been a great summer so far. Hope you guys are having a great time. Today, Mike, we're going to be talking about the future with humanoids.
Sanjay, everybody, welcome to Tech Talk 2020 here on WINT 1330 AM and WINT, the new WINT 101.5 FM. Sanjay Parker, Mike Carswell here on Tech Talk 2020. Glad to be with you this evening. It is, it's been great. It's been real, but we definitely want to talk about, the things that are changing in our world today. I know you want to talk about technology. You always want to talk about technology, and it's good because we're going to get smarter together. So let's talk about this AI thing. You messed me up earlier when you explained to me what's going on. So translate it for me.
Sure. So we're going to take a little bit of a softer approach today, a more human-focused show with not a lot of gory data, but we'll be back into that pretty soon. In fact, we're talking about humanoids, but to me, Mike, that's kind of hurtful.
I don't know any humanoids.
Right. That's probably going to change.
Okay.
And you might not even know they're humanoids.
I did see. Okay.
Let's paint the picture.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The theater of the mind, if you will, as we so often do on this show.
Rod Serling, yes.
These faithful servants of ours, right? Remember back in the future, but a long time ago, there was a show called The Jetsons. Do you remember the name of the robot?
Back in the future, but a long time ago. Yes, I had a crush on Rosie. Rosie was the robot that did everything.
You had a crush?
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I don't think he was.
Rosie was awesome. Rosie met all my needs.
Well, okay. So Rosie had her merits, and then there was Irona. Don't forget.
I don't remember Irona.
Was that Richie Rich's robot?
I don't know.
Maybe that was Irona. I don't know. But
that was the program you were watching.
Right. There were these humanoid robots that served a single task.
The robots I recall were Rosie from the Jetsons, of course, and then I don't remember the robot's name on Lost in Space. All I remember him saying, and everyone repeat this line with me: "Danger, Will Robinson, danger!" And his arms would flail. So we watched Lost in Space, and we had that robot there. So those were the robots in my life as a kid, and I'm sure I'm forgetting one. Oh, Johnny Sacco.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody out there remember Johnny Sacco? Raise your left hand and say Mega Punch now, because that was an after-school treat for me. So I got a little robot history here, but I'm not. Right. I don't have humanoid history. So you got to define a humanoid for me first.
So a humanoid is something that resembles the human form.
Aha.
Right. So you could have a very rudimentary humanoid in the form of the robots that you mentioned. Specifically, the Lost in Space robot was the Class B9M3 General Utility Non-Theorizing Environmental Control Robot. Non-theorizing meaning it didn't really think.
Okay.
Even though
that's the one on Lost in Space.
I think it did. Yeah, right. Yeah. So
it was a guy in the suit anyway. So
what?
It was a guy inside there waving his arm.
That's crazy. I don't believe it. Hundreds of years ago, they actually had a fair where they had a person in a suit inside of a glass tube or a booth, and you would put in money and tell it what to do, and it would act it out in. And people thought it was really a robot.
Wow,
it was a human.
Wow. I would tell it to dance, probably.
Yeah, and it might have. It might have danced in its chair. But we think about those things, and we know they're robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happen to be illuminated on a show that came out recently on HBO in the past year or two. It's called Westworld.
Were you inspired or illuminated?
Illuminated.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Westworld is kind of like, might relate to the Westworld movie you're talking about.
Sure, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
It's like Fantasy Island, but with a modern twist, right? Mm-hmm. Remember Fantasy Island with Ricardo Montalban and Tattoo?
Yes, I do. And I'm sure none of our listeners are old enough to remember that either.
So you're a very wealthy person,
yep.
and you fly into this island, and whatever fantasy you want, say you solve a crime or you are the sheriff of a town, whatever they had back then, you're captain of a boat, they make those fantasies come true. They refer to you as Captain Carswell
Ooh, I like
for the whole weekend, and you pay for that experience.
Ooh, I don't like it.
and you pay dearly. Now,
Wow.
Westworld is very similar. You take a trip to this
Desolate-
remote
Remote area.
remote area in the
Away
middle
from,
of
away from
wherever,
reality. Sure.
right? And your fantasies and dreams and whatever comes true, you can be a really dark, evil person or really good person. And it's interesting to see how the characters come out. So when you pay to go there, you're interacting with scenarios and scripts from humanoids.
Okay.
They look like humans. They're so advanced that they have gestures with their eyes. They remember your name. They do all those things for that course of the day. But some of the bad people also bring out their own dark side and they kill these things. So,
Oh, no.
or they stab these things. It's very violent in some cases. And so you can say and do whatever you want and they can't harm you.
Oh, okay. So they don't have the same powers that you do because they're humanoids and you're a human.
They're there for you.
Aha, gotcha.
And at the end of every day, they get reset. Their memories get erased. And the next day, they act out their same script and they interact with the new humans that come in.
Okay.
So kind of interesting. So no matter, you could, cheat at a card game with one of the humanoids, and next week you can pull the same trick on them because they don't remember. It's
So wait a minute. It's not like all the other intelligence that we've studied and understood on the show is that the memory takes place and eventually they're going to remember everything that we've ever done to them. So in this particular environment, they don't remember. They're reprogrammed on a daily basis.
Yes.
Okay.
However,
Yes.
it's interesting because on a previous show I said if these humanoids start looking like humans, people are going to ask for them to have rights and for protection. And at some point when they become sentient and they become aware, and it could start as easily with memories, they then start thinking they have their own rights. Remember the movie Ex Machina where this guy created these beautiful women android robots and he would have different models and he would throw them away, and one sensed that she was actually going to be replaced, and so she kind of entrapped him and set herself free.
What was the name of that movie?
Ex Machina or
Okay.
Machina.
That was one
M-A-C-H-I-N-A.
I was at a ball game that day. I missed that one.
Yeah, well, pretty interesting stuff, right?
I guess.
So it's kind of like you try to make these things realistic and humanish. Well, what happens when there's a little bug introduced? For example, in the series, what happened was, gestures and it having memories actually became a feature for these robots.
Okay.
Well, that turned into them piecing together what had happened to them the previous day, and sometimes it was bad. And so I haven't gotten too far into the series, and it's adult type of stuff. It's violent, and wouldn't want to watch it with kids, but it's definitely something that gets you to think. We have to realize at some point, a lot of people say within 50 years, we will have humanoid forms that are indistinguishable to us from actual humans.
Wow. Well, I actually kind of, I'm waiting to hear you tell me how great this is, because I know that the whole artificial intelligence and the concept of having robots in our lives are going to help us and advance us. But, the fact that my favorite Will Smith movie I like to refer to, I, Robot, where the robots kind of took over, and thanks to Will's superhuman strength, we're all saved now.
Yes, that happens in his movies.
Yeah, it started out with, yeah, it's a movie. It started out with the Roomba, vacuuming the floor for me, and then
Did you know the Roomba commercial where they're like dancing with it?
No, I have missed that
Something
one.
like that. Yeah, it was pretty
But
good.
there's also, I don't know what's the name of the yard clipper now, because there's one that does mows your lawn for you.
There's a lawn bot.
Lawn bot. So you have a lawn bot, you have a Roomba, and then you have your coffee that's already made for you when you get up if you set a timer.
That
all those
happened a
type of
long
things.
time ago, Mike.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just starting with there and progressing forward. So there's more and more automation every day. I was laughing. I was with some young people the other day, and I said, guys, you got to understand, I played basketball when there was no three-point line. And they looked at me like, really? And I said, guys, understand this. We didn't have a microwave growing up.
Wait. No 3-point line? What is a Steph Curry to do?
Well, even his father played with a three-point line. That shows how much older I am. What is a Steph Curry to do? Maybe play some real basketball in the paint, baby, where it gets rough, where the men are men. And, anyway, that's another subject. No, I mean, technology has advanced in 50 years, and I wouldn't be surprised in 50 years some of the things that you mentioned will be taking place. To put a robot in a human form would definitely automatically cause humans to say, oh, and have feelings towards it, because
Absolutely.
that's what we're all about.
You can make a robot puppy dog, and
That's a
people
slippery
fall in love
slope.
with it.
That's a slippery slope. Let's make sure they stay looking like robots, guys.
Well, there's a company
sure.
called Hansen's Robotics that already started doing what you said don't do.
Oh, really?
So this guy named David Hansen
Mm-hmm.
created some facial expression software coding and motors to create a face that resembles human facial expressions back in
Wow.
2006.
Okay.
And so that company has evolved. They're making robots. Now, we talked on a previous show about neural lace and being able to take your brain and take that and put it into something else so that we have a brain-to-machine interface. Imagine having not only a human-looking robot with silicone, regular-feeling skin, real hair, real facial expressions, real body, and then you put in a human-style brain that learns and adapts. That is crazy. But let me tell you something. You think the hardest part of this is actually putting in the human brain? That's the easiest part, because there's something called Moravec's paradox. And what that says is the stuff that we do on a sensory motor level is so much harder than what we do with our cognitive functioning. And we've always felt that it's harder to replicate human thinking power. We can make a robot walk and do things. Extremely difficult, lots of computing power required to do something called SLAM, simultaneous location and mapping. So that's knowing where you're at and knowing what the things around you are so you can navigate that. Super hard.
So again, you're saying that the brain reproduction, for as far as robots are concerned, is easier than the physical things that we do.
Yeah, it's easier to replicate somebody with an advanced degree in terms of their logic and knowledge than it is to figure out how a 2-year-old learns how to walk.
I love 2-year-olds. They learn how to walk. They learn how to dance. They're the best dancers ever. But I get that, because I've seen so many different type of robots over the years attempting to walk, attempting to, do certain things. Now, limited tasks. I sent you the video a couple weeks ago of a bricklaying robot. On a construction site somewhere in India, there was a robot that could lay bricks faster than the guys that were doing it by hand. So some tasks are
John
doable.
Henry revisited, right?
Some tasks are doable, but you're
Yeah.
right. Running, judging distances. Well, I mean, with automated driving, autonomous driving,
That part's pretty simple.
you can judge
Just
distances.
get radar.
Whatever.
I will tell you that Sony tried to do this, and this is an example of Moravec's paradox, just I think a few years ago, 2, 3, 4 maybe, where they had this new robot, and Japan is very big on robotics. They have lots of, humanoid robots. They have hotels where you're talking to a humanoid to check in and do all of that stuff. But they had this big show, and they had a robot, and it was going to walk on stage and talk. Well, it tried to walk up the stairs, and it just flailed and fell and had to be carried off. That's the hardest part about making a robot, making it navigate those spaces. So we'll talk about, all of those little things that, we've seen with the progression of robots, but let's really talk about the human side of it. Where's that going to take us, and what kind of things might we see as human enhancing uses for these robots before they take over the world? And we'll probably talk about that in quite a little bit of detail when we get back from the break here.
I like your little shot before they take over the world. Hey, anyway, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back here on Tech Talk 2020. Stay tuned. Listen to the commercials. Buy whatever they tell you. And everybody will be happy here on 1330 AM and 101.5 FM on WINT Integrity Radio. Talk to you in a moment.
At Pat O'Brien Chevrolet, we service all makes and models of cars and trucks. No matter what you drive, foreign or domestic, our technicians can keep your vehicle in top shape. Major repairs, tires, or a quick oil change, we can take care of you at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
Did you know water makes up over 70% of your body? It regulates body temperatures, blood pressure, and helps boost the immune system. Water is also needed for lubrication of joints and boosts metabolism during and before exercise. Sunrise Springs Water Company bottles their water in the heart of Geauga County. 100% clean, 100% pure, and 100% fresh. Ask about free delivery for home or office, 3 or 5 gallon bottles, and water coolers with your favorite college team logo. Visit sunrisespringswater.com.
The St. John Vianney Parish Festival, Thursday, July 13th through Sunday, July 16th. Midway games, a children's wonderland, and casino action too. Homemade food, cold drinks, and great dancing with entertainment by Disco Inferno, Festivus, and Glass House, and Don Wojtyla. Visit sjvmentor.org for details.
Welcome back to Tech Talk 2020 with Sanjay Parker. I'm Sanjay Parker. I am here with Mike Carswell, my awesome professional co-host, and we are talking about the dawn of the humanoids. And we are here, and we know that with the second machine age, we are now taking human cognitive power and amplifying it like never before. We've already mastered human robotic power. We talked about how hard it is to make robots walk and seem lifelike. We've started with facial expressions, but even climbing stairs is difficult. That's called Moravec's paradox. Pretty interesting stuff, but I think that'll be solved. I think we'll get there. More processing power, more research and data. And the general consensus is in definitely less than 50 years, you're going to have humans that are indistinguishable from their humanoid counterparts. And there are already shows that are talking about that.
Okay. Well, I guess we're getting smarter together on this show, so we are talking about the things to come. So what other kind of things do you see coming? So I'm looking at the humanoids and the humans playing athletics together or against each other. I think that would be kind of a very interesting scenario. There's a movie, I caught a few moments of it the other day, and Hugh Jackman's in it, and the way he moves, this remote control robot would move, and it would kind of get into almost like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots for giant people
That's
kind
cool.
of a thing. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have drones. We're going to be fighting wars with drones.
I'm getting a drone.
You are?
I'm convinced I'm going to get myself a drone.
Very
we cut
cool.
some trees down, so I got some room to play with it.
Oh, that's cool. What are you going to do? What's the purpose?
Ride around in circles and just kind of crash.
Because you love technology. I knew it. You heard it first on this show.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I won't get a drone. So,
Well,
take that back.
we have, it's called in the tech world, it's called a hardware abstraction layer. And
Okay.
what that does is it sits between the software that you write and the hardware that it runs on. For example, the hardware of your phone, the hardware of your PC. And so we are entering an era where we have our own real-world carbon hardware abstraction layer, meaning you can control a drone with a camera, and you can fly over a mountain. Somebody flew over the old tore-down Jog Lake, and showed us all of this stuff with no risk of injury to themselves.
Right.
Somebody flew a couple of years ago right above a fireworks show. It was amazing. You never got to see that, right? And they were flying right through the exploding things. It was dangerous for that device, but we got to live through that layer of abstraction. So pretty neat stuff. We're seeing that a lot. I'll take your competing against humans in sports and raise you one and say that the humans won't have any place on that court at some point.
Well, it may be a field, it may be a court, maybe a racetrack. But at some point, I do think that I could see that occurring where we would be man against machine, and that kind of being a sexy theme that people would kind of follow, man against machine. And until machine figures out how to master all the sensory items that we mentioned before, walking, running, chewing gum, being able to do the cha-cha or the nay-nay.
Well, two things, and I've tried to do those things for my life, and I can't. So any robot that can do it is way ahead of me.
Sanjay's a robot.
I've got three left feet. So here's the thing, though. All of those problems can be solved with compute power and data. And now, I mean, because I won't even say algorithms and programming anymore, because there was already software that was released that allows a program to rewrite itself to be more efficient. And so now programs are rewriting programs and themselves to become more efficient. So that machine learning phase is just ridiculous. So throw more compute power, let it learn on its own with data, and pretty much everything will be solved.
I think it's going to be a long time before humanoids get beyond the stage of well, the movie Westworld is pretty interesting. I don't know what the particular episodes or the series that you're talking about, but I do remember the movie from the 70s.
Tell me about that one.
I just remember how if you didn't really know what the premise of the movie was, you thought that the humanoids were human. after a while. And then you really kind of forgot the fact that they were out. And then one of the humanoids just got this possessed desire to take the guy out that was taking care of everyone. He pretended to be a bad guy when really he was a cupcake.
Ungrateful humanoid.
So, yeah, that was a pretty intense movie, but enjoyable. So, anyway, again, I'm looking forward to the day when it's man against machine. Right now, it's not fair from a standpoint of the humans being who we are, but I could see the gap closing, especially when it comes to, like you mentioned before, the intellectual level. But machines probably can move faster. They could probably pick a different form than rather having two legs to get around. If you think about that,
Yeah, right.
Then it would be unfair.
Yep.
Machines would take over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've got to, obviously, I believe in the resiliency of humankind and that we'll figure out what that kill switch is.
Here's something we
when the
could do
time comes.
quickly. We could do it right now. Is you take a Tesla, you tell the Tesla to drive to Indianapolis, and then you drive to Indianapolis and see who gets there first.
Was it about speed? And you manage the speed limit?
Then no, you can't manage the speed limit because then because
So you want insane
If you manage the
Tesla.
speed limit, they should definitely be there at the exact same time.
Well, yeah, if actually the human would never make all the right choices. Because even if they're using Waze, they would have to look down at their phone. They're already behind, right? So it's interesting. Now, the Tesla, if it's within the span of its fuel range where it doesn't have to recharge, then it should win every time because it would have flawless execution.
Right, as long as you said that there was no speed limit, then that'd be a whole different animal. It'd be very interesting.
That'd be like
make it
what
interesting.
do they call it? Cannonball Run, right?
Yeah, it was a movie. Yeah,
Yeah, like that. Okay.
Burt
So-
Reynolds.
Yeah, that was good stuff. So let's talk about the progression of humanoids, right? So, Mike, you talked about a task-focused robot, like laying bricks,
Yes.
or even something more advanced as a task, like transport, right? The Tesla semi-truck, or the autonomous driving vehicles that we're seeing today. We've seen robots that just, pound nails, or factories have had robots that do a specific task forever, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Mhm.
50, 75, 100 years. And so we've got that, but we'll see the evolution of that into something that becomes more of a general purpose helper, right? So we have a robot that can do more than one task, like your Roomba, right? Some of them now can do carpet and switch to tile. Some of them actually squirt out cleaning solution and mop your floors, right? So it's general purpose, but still within their domain.
Sure.
But then you have things like Baxter. Baxter is a robot, Baxter Robotics, out of one of the New England states.
Okay.
It's a robot that is designed to work alongside humans. So instead of specifically programming it, it sits next to you, and you take its hands, and it's got sensors and everything, not to hurt you or do anything, but you can show it what to do, and it'll repeat that task. For example, the proverbial difficult problem we had at Smucker's in Orville, Ohio, where everything is automated except when they take the jelly jars out of the box. Since they come in these boxes that have some play, between each, a robot could never go to that same exact spot and know that there's a jelly jar there to pick up. So humans had to load them onto the conveyor belts, and from there, the entire packaging, filling, sealing, labeling is automated.
Okay.
Well, Baxter, that type of robot comes in where it can learn to deal with a little bit of ambiguity. And so we're now seeing the single-purpose helpers turn into general purpose. Where that's going to go over the next several years is you will see Baxter-style robots replacing factories of people.
And then the whole concept of the robots doing more and more work for us. I was in a plant last week, and they make equipment for the meat industry. And they were mentioning to me that we're not laying people off. We're just retraining them, and they're doing different things. So that is a positive thing when automation does come in.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this about Baxter, though. I'm thinking how interesting it would be to, have all those, again, I'm still a skeptic as far as Baxter types getting to that point where they can completely replace us. But I don't know. I'm going to stay a skeptic there.
Yeah. The one thing, all these stats, but 100 years ago, we had 2% of the number of people we had 2% today, the number of people who were in farming 100 years ago. So those 98% and their progeny didn't just go and become homeless and not work. They found other jobs with the Industrial Revolution,
Right.
with the digital revolution.
Now nobody farms, right? I got your
Right, but
deal.
we're still feeding people in a great degree because of mechanization and modernization. I went to Munich and talked to BMW, and somebody asked in our group, our little group that we had that was touring the plant, you're 99% automated, you're in Europe, strict labor laws. How do you deal with the fact that you're replacing humans with robots? And they said in the last 50 years, they've tripled the number of humans because they've added robots. It allowed them to compete on a large scale. It allows them to offer tons of customization options. They need people in the marketing areas. They need people to fix the robots. They need people to operate and work with and alongside the robots. So their answer was, okay, well, we can scale beyond what we normally did. We're still hiring humans.
As long as you're able to, I guess, progress with time, you should be fine.
That's the lens.
You know, you brought up a subject about farming, and I got into a little bit of a discussion over the weekend, a good one, holiday weekend, about why do we have summers off for school? Because there's no more need for kids to help with the harvest.
Right.
Year-round school's coming your way, guys. I think
send them back.
Interesting.
Let them have their brains develop.
Much of the world, they go year-round school, don't they?
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we have a break. We have a model from 1820. Where the kids were part of the harvest.
Well, and the downside of it is that without places like the Y and college for kids and places where they can go in the summer, the brain shuts down and they're behind. Some of them forget how to read between first and second grade because of that, or kindergarten and first grade. Two quick things though.
Yes.
My mom, I bought her. She loves Elvis, and I went to this place like 5-6 years ago. It's called Tuesday Morning. It's like a clearance place.
I've heard of it. Yep.
And I found a talking Elvis alive head that you can buy these things. It's got a leather jacket. It's got Elvis hair.
And you're telling me this because?
Elvis face. And it sings and it talks and it has sensors. This
It's
is
a
great.
humanoid, right?
Right. And so my mom left it on somewhere, and it was at her daycare. And one of her helpers walked into the room and said, "Hey, good looking. What are you doing here?" And she freaked out. She would never go near it. But that was back then. I just wanted to bring up that Elvis alive. It's kind of cool.
It's like the dancing Santa Claus thing that creeps people out. In our
basic
the bank I go to, they have one of those in there. The guys, it's about 4.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Time out. No.
Yeah. Well, think about the future when these humanoids become your companions. They become your workforce. Think about your temporary agency guy. He'll send out 20 humanoids to do the work instead of hiring people. And food for thought, family. Say you want to adopt a child. Well, that's a horrible
Adopt a
example.
humanoid.
Say a dog. You adopt
I'm
a
gonna
dog.
replace
You
you
get
with
a humanoid
a
dog or a
Hey guys, thanks for
caninoid.
tuning in to Tech Talk 2020. I'm going to replace Sanjay with a humanoid next here on 1330 AM and 101.5 FM, the new WINT Integrity Radio. We're so glad you joined us. See you next week here on Tech Talk 2020. We are getting smarter together.